Welcome, welcome, welcome to LACUE's Get Lucky with Google webinar. Make sure that you are signing in. That's the only way that you get credit. Today's webinar is brought to you by the Louisiana Association of Computer Using Educators. If you are not a member of LACUE, I suggest you run, after this webinar of course, run and sign up. It is completely free to be a member of LACUE. And usually if you're in this webinar, then you are interested in using computers in your classroom. We have an annual conference every single year. Now do note that if you usually come to our conference, it is a week earlier this year. So it is November 28th through 30th, but it is still at the Hyatt Regency in New Orleans. So we definitely want to see you there. It's also sponsored by Educator Alexander, and you can find out more information at educatoralexander.com. Today we are talking about getting lucky with Google. I can't wait, guys. I've been waiting on this presentation. And our presenters are Lindsey. It was going to be Brooke, but Lindsey's going to give us an update. Lindsey, Brooke, and Shanon. And I am your host, Desiree Alexander, aka Educator Alexander. Oh, Shanon says it was awesome. Wasn't it, Shanon? It was awesome. All right. The conference is amazing. And remember, you can join LACUE for free. So join and then you'll get updates. So you know what? I'm going to quit yapping and let Lindsey take it away. Lindsey, I'm going to mute myself. Please take it away.
So as I'm talking, if you would like to, maybe on your device or a separate device, if you'd like to click along with us, this is the link to our presentation. It is tinyurl.com/LACUE-lucky. Okay, this is our information. We are Tech by LPSS. We have a website, tinyurl.com/Tech by LPSS, and we are also on Facebook. If you search for Tech by LPSS, you can follow us there. And there are 3 of us in this department. It is me, Lindsey Keely. I'm the Instructional Technology Coordinator for Lafayette Parish. We also have Brooke Fontenot. She's an Instructional Technology Facilitator for Lafayette Parish. Brooke is not with us today, though, because Brooke had her baby Wednesday night. So she is busy doing that and couldn't join us. And I also have Shanon Juneau.
Hi, guys. And I'm a technology facilitator as well.
So that's it. We're the Technology Department for Lafayette Parish. And today's agenda, we're going to talk to you about some of our favorite tips and tricks in Google, some of our favorite Google apps, some of our favorite Chrome extensions, and then we'll have time for Q&A at the end. But if you have a question at any time, you can put it in the chat window. Shanon's going to be monitoring the chat window and answering questions there, and I'll be monitoring as well and answering as I see them. Okay, so before we begin, do we have any questions? Again, this is so different. Okay, we're just going to get started. So we're going to start talking about some of our favorite tips and tricks in Google. And the first thing we have for Google Drive, some of our favorite tips, one of the things that you can do is save files to multiple folders. So I'm not sure about you guys, but what we do is we create presentations and we create handouts for our presentations, and we have different presentations that we do. And so previously, before finding this out, what we would do was make a copy of a handout and put it in a folder, and then we'd have our original handout, and so we'd end up with copies in multiple folders. The problem with that is if you don't update all the documents, then the changes are not shared on all of the same documents. So you can now save files to multiple folders in Google Drive, and I'm going to show you how to do that right now. Okay. So let's say this is my original document and I need to put this in our presentation folder. Well, if I select the file and do Shift Z, it pulls up this little window and I can say, okay, my drive, and just going to put it in my presentations folder, and I'm going to say add. It's going to give me the little warning. If I move it here, anybody that can see presentations will see it in there. I'm going to say OK. So now if I go to my presentations folder, it's pretty large. Here's the one-to-one makeup session. Okay, I'm going to open it from my presentation folder just to show you. The great thing about this, the benefit to putting files in multiple folders is if I make a change, this is the one in the presentations folder. If I go back to my drive and I open up the one from drive, notice the change is there. So it's a way to have documents in multiple places, but making the change on only one document so all documents reflect the changes that you make. So everybody has the most up-to-date version. So far, so good? Okay, sorry, and that's something I do while I'm teaching too. I normally ask as I'm going through. So again, if y'all have questions, just chat them away for us. One of the other things we like to do in Google Drive, so if you have Word documents, PowerPoints, Excel files, you know you can upload those into Google Drive. And because we're in an education domain, and if your district has an education domain, you have unlimited storage. Well, what we do is if you set them to convert, it will take those Word documents or PowerPoints or Excel sheets that you upload and convert them to the Google Drive equivalent. You can set it to always do it, or you can turn it on just for specific documents. The benefit to doing that is, again, if I upload a Word document and I need to make a change to it, I have to download it, make the change, and then re-upload the changed document. If I convert it to a Google Doc when I upload it, then when I make the change is automatically saved. So in order to do that, you would click on your little gear icon in your Drive window and go to Settings. There's a button that says Convert Uploads. Notice mine is on. I leave mine turned on all the time. However, if you don't want to convert everything, you can uncheck it or check it to turn it on when you're ready to upload. What it does is when you pull in your Word document, it's going to convert it to a Google Doc and it's going to keep the same name. Sometimes some of the formatting might be a little off and you can fix that super easy. But again, the benefit is whenever you make the change, it's automatically saved. You don't have to download, make the change, re-upload, and all of that. So I leave mine turned on all the time. But if there is something that I need to upload, like a document or a PowerPoint that I don't want to convert, the only thing I have to do is before I add it, go back to my settings, uncheck that, say done, and then upload my document, and then I can turn it back on if I need it. Okay. You can see, scrolling through my drive, I have some of my folders color-coded. That is another thing that you can do if you want to do all of your presentation folders or all of your math folders as a certain color, just so you can glance at them real quick and see what they are. If you select a folder and right-click, there's a Change Color button. These are the colors. You can put it to whatever color makes your heart happy, and then now looking at your drive, you're not just looking at a bunch of gray folders. It can be color-coded the way that you like. Another great thing that you can do is you can actually star folders or documents or things that you have in Drive. If you notice on my left navigation menu, there's a starred section. If I click on the starred, you'll see the things that I have starred. These are the things that I have marked as important. The problem is and please don't judge my Drive, but if I go through and I look at like my work documents, and then I open up folders, you'll see I have folders within folders and documents in all these folders. If there are things that I need to access all the time, and I know it's in this folder, instead of having to click, if I star it, so I'm just going to take this one, you can either right click and say add star, or you can use your little ellipsis in the top corner and say add star, and it puts a little star by it, and now when I go to my starred section, it's here. It's a way for you to kind of favorite files and folders that you access quite a bit, so you're not digging through your folders trying to find it. I'm going to remove that star because that's not one of the things I need. Okay, if I'm going too fast, y'all let me know. Okay, the other thing we're going to show you is some sharing extras. So if I want to share this folder or a document, this document right here, with Shanon, and I want to give her editing rights. When I share it, okay, I would start typing Shanon's name, and here she is. Okay, now right here I can give her editing rights and she can edit my folder. The problem with this is if someone has editing rights to a file or folder, right now that also means that she can add multiple people. If I go to Advanced, Down here at the bottom, do you see where it says prevent editors from changing access and adding new people? I can still give Shanon editing rights to this file, but in checking this off, that means that she can't give somebody else that I've given viewing rights. She can't change them to editors. And it also means that she can't share this file with anyone else. I'm in control of who can see and do whatever needs to be done to my files. The other option that you have is to disable the option to download, print, and copy for commenters and viewers. So if I check that off and I give someone viewing rights to this folder, they can see it, but they can't download it, they can't do file make a copy, and they can't print it. Okay, so those are some options that you have as well. I'm going to uncheck that because I don't mind if they do that. So if you look at the new button, that's where you're going to go to open up a new Google Doc. I have one open already so we can show you some of our tips and tricks for this. One of the first things I'm going to talk about is the Explorer tool. It used to be called Research, but it functions the same way. So if your students or if you are doing a research paper and you need to do citations in your paper and you need to do research, well, let's pretend I'm doing a paper on whales, and you'll see whale, for whatever reason, is the theme we're going to use today. But if I go to Tools and Explore, it's going to open a little window off to the right. Okay, you can see I've already searched for whales, so it's pulling up my stuff for me, but I'll do another search for whales. And I have three options: web, images, and drive. So if I go to images, it's just going to be images. If I go to drive, it's going to pull up anything in drive that has to do with whales. I'm going to do web. And so let's say I'm looking at this website and I go to it and I realize, oh, there's some great information. And so I'm going to do a quote from this site. So I'm going to come right here and we'll just pretend this is the quote that I took from this site. Well, what I can do is if I hover over the site, there's a little quotation button. If I click this, it's going to put a citation for me. And if I scroll down, it cites it down at the bottom for me. So that's a great tool for students to show them that as a way to cite the work that they're using from some of the websites. And it's all within Google Drive in the doc itself, so it makes it easy to access. Okay. I'm assuming y'all are okay, and I'm not going too fast. So the next thing I'm going to do is show you how to insert a drawing. If you're not familiar with drawing, it is a separate tool that you can use in Google. If I go to New and More, there's a drawings option. But if I'm in a document, and let's say I need to do some kind of word art or a chart, I can actually create it from inside the document. So if I go to Insert, Drawing, it's going to open up my little drawing window, and I have the same tools that I have. So I can draw lines, I can change the colors, I can do shapes and arrows and all of these fun things. Okay, I can do a fill color if I need. I can add text. Move it over. Okay, once I'm finished with my little drawing, then I say, I can also add word art. I say save and close, and it inserts the drawing as an image in my document. Okay. This image I can do just like I would a normal image. I can say wrap text and move it around if I need to. But that's a quick way to add something from Google Drawings into a document from the document itself. All right, moving on. Another new thing that you can do is one of the complaints that we used to hear when we started showing Google Docs to our teachers is it's great, but the only thing in Word, if we wanted to do a newsletter, it has the column option. Well, Google Docs has now added the column option. So if you go to Format, Columns, you can now add columns to your document. So you would pick either one is the default, you can do 2 or 3, and then once you do it, it adds the columns for you. Okay. The final thing I'm going to show you for right now in Docs is suggestion mode. So suggestion mode is a way that you can get into a document. Right now I'm in editing mode. If I come over here, you see your toolbar. If I come to the right, and I click the drop down arrow, okay, and I go to suggesting. What happens in suggestion mode is edits become suggestions. So even if I make a change, so I'm going to say not big, we want to use a better word, so use large instead. Okay, notice that it puts the comments off to the side, it highlights it, and it does this, and when the person who's looking at the document, when they're looking at it, if they want to choose it, they can accept the suggestion or they can get rid of the suggestion. So that's what suggestion mode does. It's kind of the same thing as leaving comments on the document, but it actually does the markings inside of the document so you can actually type in the document without making the change. Whenever you do the suggestion, the person who you're suggesting to can either accept the change or reject it. So I'm going to accept this, and then I'm going to reject this, and I'll just come in and type large. Okay, moving on. Commenting works the same way. So if I'm looking at a document, and this is a great tool for teachers when they're doing revisions for their students' writing. So if you're looking at a document and you don't do suggestion mode, well, what you can do as the instructor, as the teacher, you can highlight a sentence. And notice that when I highlight it, it gives me a commenting option here. Or if I come up here to comment and say comment, it will add a comment. And notice that there's a record. I'm pointing at my screen like you can see. Notice that there's a record of all of the comments that we've made so far. So it does keep a record. So you can leave a comment, and it works the same way. I'm going to say comment. It works the same way as the suggestion mode, and what they can do is when they're looking at the comment, if they come over here and they click on it, they can actually reply. So you can actually have a dialogue going back and forth about a student's writing using the commenting tool, and whenever the comment has been resolved, you click resolve and it's good to go. Okay. Another thing you can do with commenting is, let's say Brooke, Shannon, and I are working on a document and we each have a section that we have to do. If I set up the template and I say, okay, I'm going to do the introduction, Shannon's going to do the body of the thing, and Brooke will do the closing, what I can do is I can come over here, I can type, okay, my columns are still on, so bear with me, but I type the word body. Let me move it back to editing mode real quick. I type body, I click that, and I'll leave a comment. And if I do a plus sign and then type Shannon's email address or name, I can assign it to her, and she'll get an email saying, Lindsey Keely has assigned this comment to you in Google Docs. And when she opens the document, it's going to show her this, and it's going to pull out my comment that says, hey, this is your section, please get busy. Okay, the next thing in Docs, and this is in Docs, Slides, and in Google Sheets, and if you don't know about it, this is the best thing ever. It's revision history. So if I go to File, See Revision History, it used to pop off in a little box on the right. Now it's a whole new window, okay, and it shows you the document. And you'll see everything that I've typed is in green. Now I'm the only one in the document, so everything is going to be green. But if I click this little drop down arrow next to the date and time, it's going to show you more detailed revisions. So you can see each thing I've taught. So let's say I want to go back before I put the columns. So I have here, I have my text, I have my drawing. I need to get rid of those columns and all that text because I don't need that. Well, with revision history, you can restore this revision. It's going to say, are you sure? And I do it, and now my document is back. The great thing about revision history, though, is if someone else, if I've shared this document with Shannon, it's going to assign colors to it. So Shannon may be purple and I'm green. Everything that Shannon does in the document is going to be purple, and everything I do is going to be green. So if students are working on a group project and so-and-so comes to you and says, listen, I typed everything, Shannon didn't do anything. If you go to that document and pull up revision history, it's going to show you everything that was done and who did it. So you can see at a quick glance if that student is being honest and telling the truth about who did what in the document. Another great reason to use it is you can actually see, excuse me, you can actually see if, let's say, Shanon goes in and deletes my whole drawing, it's going to show. And this revision history cannot be edited. It cannot be changed. There's nothing anyone can do. Even the owner of the document cannot change this. So that revision history is there forever with this document. So there's a record of everything anybody did. We've had instances with some of the students like typing something inappropriate and then they delete it and then turn in the document. Well, if the teachers go to revision history, they can check each revision. We've had one teacher actually find that the teacher typed in, Miss Keely is a big fat whatever, and then they were able to say, okay, look, you did this, it's in the revision history. So revision history is a wonderful, wonderful tool. The final thing I'm going to show you is how to insert images into a document, and it works the same in slides and in sheets. If you go to insert image, it's going to open up this window. Now, you can upload an image from your computer. You can take a snapshot from your webcam. You can do it by URL, but this tool at the end is fabulous because students no longer have to open up a new tab to find an image. They can do it within the document itself, and you can search Google, which is the default. You can search live images or stock images. I'm going to leave it on Google, but notice right here it says results shown are labeled for commercial reuse with modification. That means that they're copyright friendly images that they can use. So if I search for an image of a whale, I have all of these lovely images. So you find the one that makes you happy, and look, he's waving good morning, guys. So I'm going to select him and say select, and it adds it to my document. Again, I can click on the image and say wrap text so I can move it. I can resize it if I need to. But it's a quick and easy way to add images from inside a document. All right. Moving on, we're now going to talk about Google Slides. So are there any questions about Docs before I move on? I'll count down from 5. So type quick. 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, Shanon's still watching, so if there are questions, we'll answer them. But I'm going to show you how to do presenter question and answer. This is something new that has been added to Google Slides that will let you kind of have a back channel discussion where students that are looking at your presentation can actually ask questions. So the way that you turn this on is you go to your present button. There's a drop down arrow. You say presenter view. And what it does is it'll pop up this window and it's saying, okay, do you want to do it for this one? These are your audience tools. I'm going to say start new, and it will actually give you, let me minimize this real quick. It gives you a different URL. If you would go to this URL, then you could start asking questions and they would appear here. So as students ask questions, the cool thing about this tool is you can actually vote on questions. So if I ask, how do I change the theme on a slide, and 3 other people have that question, they can vote. And as it gets voted, the more votes it gets, it moves it to the top. So your questions that have the most votes will be at the top. So you know those are important ones that a lot of students don't understand, or a lot of people in your presentations don't understand. No extra work involved. You don't have to set anything else up. The only thing you do is when you're ready to present. See? Thank you, Shanon.
You're welcome.
So other students could vote on the questions and it would bring them to the top. You just have to have this little window open or just keep going back to check it as you're going through your presentation. I'm going to escape this presentation though. So that is presenter view, the presenter Q&A tool. Very, very cool, very, very easy to turn on, nothing to set up. You just have your presentation ready to go, and when you're ready to present, you just click the drop down arrow and say presenter view. The other great tool, or the great thing about it, is if you have speaker notes, you don't have to turn on the Q&A, but if you have speaker notes, it'll show you your notes here, so you could have it off to the side to turn on, to view your notes as you're speaking, which can be very handy. Okay, the next thing I'm going to show you is, so I brought up themes in the other question. If you notice when it opens up, when you open up a new presentation, my little themes window is over here, and I will tell you, the themes that are here now are actually 10 times better than what they used to have. They updated the themes recently, But if these themes are not what you're looking for, there is a website called Slides Carnival, which we have a link in our presentation. This is the Slides Carnival site. And so they have presentations that you can use with Google Slides and with PowerPoint. So let's say I'm looking through, and I want to view them all. I'm looking at all these presentations, and oh, this one's so pretty. So I want this one. Well, what I do is, if I find the one, and you can go through and look at each slide if I want to, but where I'm wanting it for Google Slides, so it says uses Google Slides theme. When I click this, it opens up a window for me, and here's mine. It's view only, so I have to do File, make a copy. Once I make a copy, it adds it to my drive, and then I can get in and edit it as I need. So you'll see they have so many different formats. They all come with their little color schemes and their fonts. This one is actually really, really pretty. At the end, it does have the credits page. So if you do go ahead and find some from Slides Carnival, you want to go ahead and leave this credits page in just to give them credit for this presentation because you're using it. They have information for you, like the titles, the font that they use, and the body copy that they use. You can download them from here. These are the hexes. Is that what it's called? The color numbers, if you want to find them. And then it's also got some of the little emojis and things that if you want to add them to your document, you can. But Slides Carnival, it's completely free, and there's a bunch. And they're constantly adding new ones. So if the ones that you see in Google Slides are not working for you, that may be something you want to check out. Okay, the next thing I'm going to show you, and this is something new. I'm going to just get rid of this. Okay, so adding videos to your Google Slides. It used to be that when you went to add a video, I'm going to go to Insert Video. The only thing you could add was YouTube videos. Well, in our district, I'm not sure it's how it is in your district, but in our district, YouTube is blocked for students. So if teachers added this and shared it with their students, they wouldn't be able to watch the YouTube video at school. Now, if you go to this new tab, there's a Google Drive tab. So any video that you now have stored in your Google Drive can be added to a slide presentation. All you do is say select it, it adds it, and then when you go to present, the video will begin to display. So yay for Google for adding that option, because before you were just stuck with YouTube videos. Are y'all doing okay, guys? Okay, I'm going to move on to sheets now. We're going to talk about some of our favorite sheets, tips, and tricks. Wow, and time is just going by so fast. Okay, so the first thing for Google Sheets, okay, if you use Google Sheets by itself, that's great. Or if you have a form that people submit for information or questions or things like that, notification rules are a very cool tool. Yes, you can add a video from YouTube to Google Drive. We use something called KeepVid to download it and pull it in. Keepvid.com. There, thank you, Shannon. Okay, so there is something called notification rules, which we find very handy. We have iPad cards that teachers can check out, and so we have a form that they have to fill out to request the cards. Well, we don't check it all the time, but what we did was we went to Tools on the sheet that's tied to the form. We went to Tools, Notification Rules, and you can set it up to anytime changes are made to the sheet. So if you don't have a form, you can set it this way. Or anytime a user submits a form, what happens? We choose to email right away, but you can choose an email of a daily digest email. So you get a daily email saying these people made changes to the form. We do right away, so it sends us an email saying change has been made to this form, and in the email that you get, it also includes a link to the form, so you can open the sheet right up from the email. So you just say this, you say save, and once it's done, it's done.
No, right? It doesn't work for TeacherTube.
No, I don't think KeepVid works for TeacherTube. So if you use forms and sheets, that notification rules is a very cool tool to use to get notifications when changes are made. There's an add-on. There's a ton of add-ons that you can add to all of Google, but in Sheets, one of the things that we have been using with our teachers and with our administration is Autocrat. It's an add-on. I don't have time to go through and show you, but what Autocrat does, so this is just an example at one of our schools. they have a lunch detention form that they fill out when students do something to get lunch detention. So what we have done is we created the form. Okay, you create the form, you set it up with a spreadsheet. The next thing you do is you create a template for the document, what you want the document to do, because what Autocrat does is it takes all of that information that's in that row in the spreadsheet and puts it into the document. So this is our template. This is for one of our schools in the district, but we have our tabs for each of the questions, the date of referral, the name, the last name, all of that information, and then you have to do these merge tags. Once you do that, anytime the form is submitted, when you set up Autocrat, you can set it up to do it anytime the form is submitted or at a certain time, but for this one, they do it anytime the form is submitted. It's going to send an email, so I just have an example. This is what the email says. Please open the attached document to view the test. It puts the PDF in here, but this is what it does. You can have it create a document or a PDF. We do PDFs because the PDFs can't be edited. And then it puts in all of the information that is on the spreadsheet. I can't show you the actual spreadsheet because it does have student information, but I just did a test one to show you this morning so you can see the date and the time, and that's from the timestamp field in the spreadsheet. And it puts all of the information that you enter into the form into a document. A lot of our administrators are using Autocrat for their walkthrough form so that they can now do digital walkthroughs. They go through and fill it out, and then it emails the teacher a copy of their walkthrough results as soon as the administrator clicks submit if they have it set that way. You can also set to run it automatically where you actually have to go in and tell it, okay, now I want it to merge these fields. So you have different options on when the documents are emailed out to whoever it needs to be emailed out to, and it doesn't have to be emailed. The other great thing is it also saves the PDFs in your drive so that you have a copy there, and it includes a link to the document in the spreadsheet itself. Okay, so that is Autocrat. It's a really, really fabulous tool. It is a little bit tedious to set it up, but the first few times you do it, it might take you a little while, but once you do it a couple of times, you'll be a pro. Okay, another thing we're going to show you is, so sometimes you have people fill out forms with information, like students fill out their name field, and you realize after they submit the form, you may need this in two separate fields. Like I want to be able to sort this. This is a test, and I want to be able to sort it alphabetically so I can take the score and just input it into my gradebook quickly. But I didn't ask them for their first name and their last name in separate fields. Well, have no fear. We have an add-on for that will fix it. So what I'm going to do, I need this to be a first name and a last name field. If I select the row with the names and I go to my add-ons, this is something that you'll have to add. There's a split names add-on. So when I click start, it's super easy, guys. It says, okay, my column has a header, and then first name, last name. If I had a middle name in there, it would break it up that way. I just want the first name and last name, so I say split. Oh, I shouldn't have left the header on, but you see, it takes the first name and puts it in a column, and the last name and puts it in the column. So now it's split, and now I can sort it alphabetically. Super duper easy to use. That is the split names add-on. Yay! I'm glad it was something new for somebody. Okay, the other thing I'm going to show you are filters in a sheet that you can use. So let's pretend that we have this spreadsheet with information of people that registered for our conference, and we want to see, okay, I just want to see all of the people that are here from Lafayette, or all of the people that registered from the diocese or from East Baton Rouge. Well, to do that, I select my column and I click my filter button. Notice that it gives me a little filter icon. The filter button on your spreadsheet looks like a little funnel, but now it's changed on the little the menu, and it's going to be next to your header. So I click this, and it's going to pull up everything that's in this column. Okay, so if I say clear, then nothing is selected, and I can go through and say, okay, I just want to see East Baton Rouge. So I click those two and I say okay, and then I can see just these people from East Baton Rouge that registered for our conference. Super duper easy. So you can filter anything. You can filter by the level. You can filter by the name, whatever you need to do. And you can do multiple filters as well. This was just a quick filter that I did. And when I'm finished, I can just say select all, okay, or just turn off my filters and it goes away. All right. So that's filtering in a spreadsheet. Works very similar to Excel, the way Excel works. Okay. I think this tool is really, really cool. So I'm going to click on another tab. And in this one, we have some information of some benchmark assessments. So we have student scores, and these are fake students, by the way, but we have student scores for benchmark assessments, and then we have the average. So I'm looking at this, and I can see, okay, I have to look through and see that Jackson has a 36.6 and Colin has a 27.2. But, I had it on, let me just show you. Let's say I want to see at a quick glance, I want my scores underneath 35 to be marked red. Well, you can turn that on by going to Format and Conditional Formatting. Okay, so what it does, let me cancel this real quick. I'm going to select my column. Then I'm going to say Add New Rule. If I select the column ahead of time, then it automatically does the range for me here. So you have a bunch of different formatting options. This one, it says if the cell is not empty. Well, that's not what I want. What I want is to see everybody that has a score that's less than 35. Well, if I come down here and I say less than or equal to, I'm going to select that one, and then I put my value in. Okay, you can use the default style, or you can do the custom color. So I'm going to say custom, and I want this to be red. Then I say done, and I can see, okay, these are my students that are below 35, and I need to work with them on these benchmark assessments. You can add as many rules as you want. So same thing, I want to say, how about greater than 40? And these I want to be green. And I say done. Well, I can see, okay, these students all did wonderful. And it's just a quick visual way for you to kind of see scores or whatever you want to do. It can be done with anything. You can look for specific text. You can look for empty cells. You can look for dates. And again, you can look for custom things like greater than, less than, equal to, between, numbers that are between. And just make sure your information in your spreadsheet, it gives you a way to make it visual. Okay, that is spreadsheets. That's our tips for spreadsheets. We're now going to go to form tips and tricks. Okay, so we have a simple form that we created for you guys just to show you. But the first thing you're going to do is when you're creating your form, if you go to the little gear icon, okay, the first thing we're going to look at are your general settings. So if you're in a domain, well, if you're not in a domain, you can collect the email addresses and the response recipients. If you click that off, what happens is they'll receive a copy of their responses once they submit it. We can actually, because we're in a domain, we can restrict this to just Lafayette System users. So for our students, our teachers that are using this as a test, we can restrict it to just Lafayette Parish students, so they have to log in with their LPSS Google account. Then you can limit it to one response. So once they log in and they start the test and they submit it, they can only do it one time. They can't do it again. So they can't get in and see the questions and then get them, try and get the right answers and all that stuff, and then try and take the test again once they do it. You can also give them the option to get in and edit after they submit, or see summary charts and text responses. Again, if this is a quiz, you probably don't want to do that, but it is an option for you if you're not using it as a quiz. Okay. Let me go back real quick. Another thing that you can do is if you go to the presentation tab, you can actually shuffle the question order. So it shuffles the questions on each page. So if you're doing it as a quiz, students sitting right next to each other won't have the same questions in the same order. You can also shuffle the responses as well. So, and I'll show you how to do that. I'm just going to say cancel right here. That's turned on. Okay. So we have some questions here. Notice that this is an image, so you can add images to a form for students to look at the image. This is just an example of a math problem for lower elementary. You could add diagrams, you could add maps, you could add any image that you have and ask a question about the image on the page. Our only suggestion would be if you're going to shuffle the question No, never mind, because you can add it to the questions. It used to be that you couldn't add images to the questions, so we're good. Okay, on the questions themselves, if you want to edit them, when you're creating them, you do have some options down at the bottom. You can make it a required question, meaning they have to fill it out or they can't submit the form. But right here, you have your 3 buttons. If you click that, you can choose to go to section based on answer, but you can also shuffle the option order here. When you shuffle the option order, it's going to shuffle all of the answers in your problem. Now this one, we have it numbered 1 to 20, so we're probably not going to shuffle this one. But if you want to, you do have that option. You just have to set it for each question. There's no like shuffle all responses and question button. You do it per question. Okay. The section breaks. So let me just show you this. You'll notice right here that we have section 1 and section 2. In section 1, we have the email address and the name. And then in section 2, we start the question. We suggest that if you're going to shuffle the questions, you do it like this. You set it up as a section with just the name information and then start your questions on the next page, because if you do shuffle the question order, it will eventually, they'll have their questions and their name question may be the last thing they fill out. So if you do it like this, then it'll shuffle the name and email address, but that doesn't matter, only on this page. And then the next page, it'll shuffle those questions. I hope that makes sense. Okay. Again, you can add images and videos to questions. So I'm just going to come down and add a new question, and there's so many different question types. Okay, so I want to add another question. Well, let's see. If I want to add an image, so if I want to add another math problem, I can click this. And again, I can pull it from my files. I can go from Drive, or I can even search and add an image. I'm not going to add one, but it'll add an image for the question. And then you can also add images for the answers. So you have that option now. If you want to add a video, you can do that from here, add a video. Again, this right now, it's just limited to YouTube videos. Hopefully, since they changed that in slides, it may change in forms as well, and you can start pulling in videos from Drive. That would be phenomenal. Okay. You can create a spreadsheet. So by default, the form responses, you can now see them all in the form itself. I don't have any responses in here, but if I did, the responses would all be listed here. And you could see it by a summary, which would be the whole class, just a summary of what they say. Or there's going to be a little individual tab right here. If you click individual, it's going to show each response and their answers. Okay. If I want to set up my spreadsheet, I can click this green button that says Create Spreadsheet, and it automatically titles whatever the title of your form is, and it adds responses at the end. So anything that's put into this form will automatically dump into your spreadsheet with your date and time stamp. Okay. Is there an equation editor like in a Word document? No, there is not an equation editor built into forms, but I think you can do the add-on GMath.
GMath.
Yeah, GMath is an add-on. So if you look at this little puzzle piece right here, there's some add-ons that you can add. I only have these though. Let's see. How do you get more add-ons? Okay, click on the little buttons on the corner, and right here you say add-ons and GMath for forms. You can add it, and it'll let you do equations, graphs, and things like that into your forms. So it's not built in, but you can add it through the add-ons. And again, to get your add-ons on forms, you go to the little ellipsis and go to add-ons. There's a ton of different add-ons. Once it's added, then your little puzzle piece button, the add-on will be shown here. Okay, so one of the cool things now that Google has done is you can now turn these automatically into quizzes from Google. Used to, you had to do the form and you could use a tool or an add-on like Flubaroo to grade it. But Google has gotten smart and said, well, why are we going to let them do an add-on when we can do it ourselves? So when you're setting this up, if you go to your gear icon, there is now a quizzes tab. You turn it on, so this one is already turned on as a quiz, and you have some options. If you release grade immediately, it shows the students their score and other test options immediately after they finish the quiz. So they immediately see their score, it pops up on their screen. If you do later after manual review, then it turns on email collection, so it collects their emails, and you'll have to say, okay, once you finish looking at it and grading it, it can email out to the students. Our problem with this one is for elementary students here, we have Google accounts, but they don't have access to email, so they would never see their grades without me giving it to them. So that's just something to think about when you're doing this. You can let them see their missed questions, you can let them see correct answers, and you can let them see point value if you'd like to. Okay, once the form itself is turned on for your questions, what you do is when you select a question, notice on this question now, I have an answer key button. When I click that, I can say how many points it's worth, and then I come in and I mark the correct answer. So I'll just click on this question real quick. That is already done. Show you the answer key and show you it's 1 point. And then the correct answer is marked this way. You can mark multiple correct answers. You do have that option. And you can, if you do like a short answer question where they have to type some information, you want to come back and hand grade it, you can say how many points it's worth, and you're not going to select a right answer. But you can come back in through Google and add the point value through here. So once you have it set up, when you go to your responses, and again, you have your 2 buttons, your summary and your individual. You would click on individual and it's going to show each question and the student's answers. So you would go down to your short answer question, read what they put, and then you could assign the point value that way. Okay, I'm going to come back to my questions real quick. Another option that you have, so you notice all of these questions have the same answer choices, 0 through 20. Well, instead of having to do this every time, a quick way to make a copy of these questions is, I'll just come to this one. I'll select it. This is the duplicate button. If I duplicate it, it gives me the same exact question, my same exact answers. All I need to do now is change my image here, and then I don't have to redo this every time. So it's a quick and easy way to add multiple questions to the test that have the same responses without having to type it out every single time. Okay, guys, we have 7 minutes left. Now, we may not get to everything on here, but I will tell you that everything is in the presentation and our email addresses are in here, so if you have questions, you can email us. We're going to start talking about some of our favorite apps. So if you have not seen Google Classroom yet, it's phenomenal. It will let you assign student work. You can do assignments, you can do questions, you can put forms in here. Oh, we have to do the evaluations. I have 2 minutes. I'll show you one of the new things that they did add to Google Classroom is when you're creating an assignment now, you can do assignments to your multiple classes, but you can also say which students get it. So if I'm differentiating, I can say, okay, this one, the template, it's only going to go to these 3 students, and I can assign it that way. So you can do either whole class or individual students, so it gives you an easier way to differentiate. That's Classroom. Google Voice will let you keep your personal cell phone number personal. It gives you a pretend number that you connect to your personal cell phone number. You give that number out to people. You have the option to say, okay, after this time, if they're calling my Google Voice number, don't ring my phone. It keeps a record of all of your chats, your text messages from this number, your phone calls, your voicemails. So it keeps a record of that. Google Keep will let you keep little notes. You can see I use mine quite a bit, just as things that I have to access quite often. But another cool thing about Google Keep is, let's say when I get to school, I need to remember to talk to Shanon. So if I put talk to Shanon, and I set as a reminder, I can actually pick a place. So if I put our office location, Chaplain Drive, here it is, if I select it, when I get here, it's going to give me a reminder. When it hits 113 Chaplain, it's going to pop up a reminder saying, hey, you need to talk to Shanon. I know, Google Voice is amazing. Keep, okay, so not just for work, but think personal. Like, I know when I get to the store, I need milk, bread, and eggs. I put a keep note in and put the location of the store, and when I get to the store, it pops up saying, hey, you need milk, bread, and eggs. So phenomenal. Okay, I'm going to skip Simple Touch and Drawing. And we're going to talk real quick about some of your extensions. Grammarly is an extension that you add on from the Chrome Web Store. If you look on my window, it's this little green G. What it does is as you're typing, it'll show you, I'll just do an email real quick. Compose, Shanon, Shannon. So I have Grammarly turned on, and so it's scanning my window and it's showing me I have 3 errors, and it'll offer suggestions. So Frady and whatever it's going to put. So it's a way for you to like check your grammar and your spelling free while you're doing this. There are some paid features to it, but for what I use it for, like checking emails, because there is a spell check, but you have to turn it on. This will do it as you're typing, and it shows you. It'll show green down here once you add it, or it'll show you red when there's errors. That is Grammarly. Well, I understand what you're saying, Gabrielle, about Google knowing everywhere you are, but you can turn that off. You don't have to put the location information. It's just kind of helpful for me when I'm doing certain things. Like when I get to this school, I need to remember to talk to the administrator about this. Real quick, the last one I'll probably have a chance to show you is Mercury Reader. It's an extension that you add on. It's this little rocket, and what Mercury Reader does is, so when I'm looking at this web page, notice it's got all kind of extra stuff on the side, at the top, and so if I'm reading it, I might get distracted. For your students, same thing. If I turn on Mercury Reader, then what it does is it pulls out all of that extra stuff and gives me just the article so I can focus on just this information. We think it's handy for students because, you know, a lot of that stuff is distracting. It's handy for me when I'm doing schoolwork and I'm looking at something and I can't focus. I just turn on Mercury Reader, gives me just what I'm looking at, and I can focus on what I need to pay attention to. Okay, that's all the time we have. We only had a couple things left to show you, so do you have any questions for us? I know it was a lot of information in a short amount of time. You guys were, I'm assuming, in your PJs being very, very overloaded with information, but we so appreciate you coming in to join us. I know there's an evaluation that you have to do at the end. Let me come back to this. Here's our information with our email addresses. Please, if you have questions, email us. We'll be more than happy to help you.
The first thing we want to do is thank Lindsey and Shanon tremendously for going through so many tips in an hour. I mean, I kept looking like, man, okay, so I guess we're about to be done. Nope, okay, we're cute. Okay, I guess we're cute. It was awesome. I didn't even know you could get through so many tips in an hour. You did an amazing job. I can't even stress that enough. So what we want to do right now, guys, is first of all, thank Lindsey and Shanon, because if you've used Google at all, the things that they have shown you today will just rocket your use. And the next thing we want to do is, of course, do the evaluation. You have a great rest of your Saturday, and congratulations, you have just gotten lucky with Google.